So thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tanya Tucker with the Full Frame Initiative. I'm the Chief of National Engagement and Partnerships. And we are so lucky to have, as part of our Full Frame team and family, a wonderful class of senior fellows who are highly dedicated to our North Star and mission of making this a country where everyone has a fair shot at well-being, and they are deep experts in their fields. And so we wanted an opportunity to get to know each of them a little better and share that with our network. So I'm thrilled to get a chance to chat with Gary Anderson, who is the founder and artistic director for Plowshares Theatre Company. So thank you for joining us today, Gary, and for spending a little bit of your time with me.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you. So as you know, we always talk about well-being really as a sense of individuals and us collectively being whole. And so I wanted to start with really just a question of who is Gary Anderson in a fuller frame way? What would you like us to know about you?
Oh, I guess in that context, I would be somebody who is constantly looking for ways in which we can learn together. That I see the art that I do as a gift that I give to an audience that should have some connection to the lives they lead outside of the theater. It just can't be mere entertainment. Entertainment is part of what we do, but it's also about revealing or maybe reshaping our understanding about the world in which we live and how we navigate it.
That's great. That's great. So can you talk a little bit about, I mean, I've given your, title and all, and founder and artistic director of Plowshares, but sort of what led you down that arts path, and what does that mean to you? And so how did you end up where you are today?
So in all honesty, my original impetus for getting into the theater was to meet girls. So I just have to be honest, completely honest about that. But after getting involved and experiencing it as not just as an audience member, but as a practitioner, I really began to see the power of storytelling and the performance in regards to connecting to people in ways in which we could help cultivate an understanding of empathy and compassion. Theater has a way of getting to us beyond our biases, and in some cases also against our own ignorance, because it presents something to us, presents a story to us about people living an experience that may be different than ours, but the human impulses are the same. And so that's why I stay in it. I'm constantly in love with revealing humanity to us on a regular basis.
I love that, and to be able to put that. What do you do every day? I try to reveal humanity
Yeah.
to all of us. I love that. Well, I was excited to talk to you today because fall is one of my favorite seasons.
Okay.
One, because it's like the beginning of sweater weather, and I love sweaters.
All right.
But for me, it's also sort of getting into the full swing of theater season here in DC.
All
And
right.
know what the theater season means to me and my life. I like subscribe to one of our local theaters and go to all the performances. And I know the impact of what some of these productions have had on me, and the ways I think about myself or my community, or just the larger world. So the arts in that way are particularly salient and important to me in my life. And I'm wondering how you see the connection of the arts, theater specifically, with well-being.
Well, one of the things that at least in the work that I do in the theater that I really lean toward is the desire, the capacity to be able to connect our sense of well-being, or our sense of our humanity to others. That it really doesn't, we can't be human in a silo. You understand what I mean by that? We
Mhm.
can't have all of those rights and privileges and opportunities and that sense of ourselves separate from the humanity of others. And what we find in the world we live in is that there are so many forces pushing us, motivating us to deny someone else their sense of humanity, right? Slavery was a perfect example of that. You can't enslave somebody if you see them like yourself or your
Right.
child or your parent, um, because you can't imagine doing that to those people who are closest to you. Um, and theater has the capacity to help us see the humanity in other people, and therefore understand that the well-being, or the sense of their power they're trying to achieve is similar to our own plight, and that we can't be fully realized in our own well-being if they aren't. It's interconnected. Um,
Mhm.
so I think those are the kind of things that I'm really looking at in both my work as a theater artist, but also working with the Full Frame Initiative.
So if you can give us a sort of deeper look on, what are the things that you're exploring as part of your fellowship with FFI? Like what is the connection of arts and well-being that you're trying to lean into?
Well, here's the thing. I've been really part of my research this last year has been examining our concept of freedom in this country and connecting it back to our founding documents, and looking at how, when we talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that's really a rewording of well-being when you think about it, right? So those are in our Declaration of Independence. Those are the goals, the objectives that we're trying to get at. We're being independent so we can achieve those things. And then in the Constitution, we list them out in the articles that are listed there. Okay, but that was a document that wasn't that didn't take into consideration everybody. If you had to be a white man with property. So that meant women and white men without property and every other ethnic community that existed in this country initially, it didn't refer to you. So anything could be done to you at the behest or the whim of a white man who owns something. Um, and I think that is a challenge in regards to how, when we look at our when we look at how we are trying to build a society of well-being, how much of what we have created has become barriers to that.
Right.
If our legal system is one that's 9/10 of it is focused on property, right? I mean, if we're focused so heavily on securing people's rights of their to property and not really looking at their rights as individuals or within what they want to achieve in this world, then how can we really be a system for justice? So when we tell stories about parts of the history of this country, when we tell stories about one another, whether it's talking about it on an economic level or a legal level, or just two kids in the backyard, we have to take into consideration how are we creating a world where everybody feels truly inclusive, because inclusion is not about just adding folks to a system that already exists.
Right.
It's about reformatting the space in a new and better way so everyone is taken into consideration,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I'm looking at. I'm looking at how the art and how the arts play into helping us manifest that, because it's like a sermon on Sunday, or lessons that you read in the Torah. There are edicts in in our religious traditions that connect us back to reminding us on a regular basis, because human beings are imperfect, of why we have to be, our North Star has to be towards this thing, this sense of well-being, as opposed to just focus exclusively on our own achievements and our own advancement.
So what are you hoping, when you get to the end of this fellowship, what are you hoping is beginning to change, whether that's action or the way people are thinking, right? Like, what do you want and
I, wa-
hope that the impact is? Yeah.
I hope the impact is really one where we re-examine how we center engagement and experiences,
Yeah.
and not just for the sake of better attended shows or more people going to museums,
Hmm.
but about how we see that as, just like I said, that sermon or that speech that we hear that reinforce these principles that we claim we are about. Um, in many cases, we tell story, or we have rituals that are created to remind us of the way we need to behave, because we can't consistently stay that way. We can be disciplined, um, but even discipline breaks down at points. And
Yeah.
life is not an easy road. There can be things that come along that shake your faith in the way you've been living. Um, and until everybody's on the same page, you will find people who will actually try to impede your way of living a full life. So we have
Yeah.
to take those kind of things into consideration and we need to understand that these things have to be reinforced. They have to be reminded to us. And we shouldn't be afraid to look at history when it tells us where we failed, um, or tells us how we overcame some challenges.
Right. 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 I often think that there still needs to be sort of this broader shift in how we think about and view the arts. Like, too often I still see it as luxury, right? Or for the wealthy, or nice to have, when I just see it as like, no, it's must have, and it's
Yeah,
central. And even if I don't go to your museum, I'm creating art in my own way, because it is so central to who we are and how we live our lives. So for that, I'm really happy that you're one of our fellows and bringing that arts lens and connection, because I don't think we talk about it enough. We talk about
right.
other basic services and systems, and then arts is sort of off to the side, and you're helping us, I think, bring that more central to well-being and how we live our lives. So I really appreciate that. And so I'm curious, so what's on the doorstep for Plowshares? Is there a production in play right now, or one
No,
coming up?
no, there's not the one we're doing now. We're going to be doing a series of stage readings and
Okay.
one night events before the end of this year, and then in 2025, we're going to get into what we're going to call the road to 100. 1926. This I won't take a whole lot, but 1926, W.B. Du Bois wrote this essay in Crisis magazine where he called for the establishment of Black theaters all over the United States. And he did that because he said these could be incubators that could help us do social change. It could,
Mm.
because we had this list of lynchings that had occurred right after Black soldiers came back from World War I and thought they had purchased their full citizenship. by sacrificing themselves, and found that between 2018 and 2020, into the late 20s, there were a series of lynchings that we called them the Red Summers, because there was constant lynching of Black men and women. Um, and Du Bois thought that one of the tools that we could use to begin not necessarily to change the minds of people who would potentially be attacking us, but
Mhm.
galvanize the community in a way of understanding and taking pride in who and what they are, um, was creating theaters that would cultivate new writers, new actors, new directors that would begin to speak to the African American experience. And so this April, the April 1926 will be the 100th anniversary of when he did that. It
Okay.
was
Yeah.
in that essay, it was the first time he said we ever used the terms for, by, and about, and near Black, as what the content of those theaters would be doing. And um, it was a powerful experience. And he was one who, as a thinker, really saw how Black culture could be used both as a galvanizing way of creating an understanding of what the contributions of Black creatives were, but also in regards to using it to build bridges of understanding to other communities.
Great. Well, I will definitely look forward to hearing more about that work as you progress on that.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for the work you're doing, the wonderful work with Plowshares. Thank you for bringing your talents and commitment and dedication to us at Full Frame and this larger well-being movement.
Okay, well, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
I appreciate the being involved in this. This is important work, and I'm hoping that I'm having an impact.
Thanks, Gary.
Uh-huh.